September 8th, 2016 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. This is a work session. A work session is a session in which the town board can actually meet all together as a governing body and discuss matters of importance of the town. Would you please rise and join me at the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much. A couple of announcements tonight. Hillside Lake Project. There's some probably people watching that are interested in the status of the Hillside Lake Project. We've actually made our applications to the DEC and to the Army Corps of Engineers. We received correspondence back from both. Very minor. Had a conference call with the Army Corps about 2 weeks ago. Everybody seems to be moving towards supplying our permits. So we're readying our bid packages for the project to go out to bid when we get our DEC and our Army Corps permits. So things are going well. Nothing lately except for those couple of calls and responses from the two permitting groups, but things are going well. So just want to announce that. And also, September 11th is this Saturday. There will be a September 11th ceremony here at the Town Hall. Starts at 6 o'clock. All are invited. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it's Sunday. Not
Excuse me?
Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, I thought I said Sunday.
Saturday.
Oh, did I say Saturday? Oh, excuse me. It's been a long day, as a matter of fact.
9/11.
Sorry. Sunday is September 11th. I stand corrected by the board. But they're always good. They always do that to me. They always correct me. Peter especially. So thank you very much. So Sunday is September 11th, and we will be having a ceremony here. So everybody is invited. So with that, we'll open our work session. We have a couple items of discussion. Tonight, first item of discussion, we're going to discuss a little bit about our budget. It's budget time of the year, never a pleasant time of the year for many municipalities situated in New York State, with a governor who has instituted a 2% or less tax cap. The or less is based on the governor's perception that the CPI is a good barometer of the cost of running a town, which it is not. So unfortunately, the CPI, I believe, what is it this year, Mark? The tax cap is 0.6.
0.68.
0.68. So, actually, all due respect to the governor, even if we had a 2% tax cap and he left it at that, we could live with it. But this is 0.68 this year. What was it last year? I think 0.71. Something like that, yes. So the governor, unfortunately, doesn't understand what it costs to run a town. Now, being budget time, we've been working on our budget diligently. And so it's been a challenge the last few years, the economy being down, several of our sources of revenue. As we've shown our revenue expense chart several times, revenues have been declining, while our expenses have been going up exponentially. This year, I think we're looking at a 12 to 15% increase in our medical benefits. I think we just got the numbers today, Mark, on the pension, and they're up just a little bit. So the pension costs have gone up from what was, I believe, in 2008, something like $600,000. Now it's 1.7. So these are the type of expenses that we have to cover under a tax cap. It's a challenge, but we're doing it. I'm going to be submitting my budget. Mark and I have been working very hard on it. I'll be submitting my budget as per town law to the town clerk on September 30th. So that being said, and in the years past, Mark and I have worked on budgets and they've taken months, literally months. Unfortunately, after last year's budget, there wasn't much left to cut. I mean, we even went so far as to cut concerts in the park, things of that nature. I mean, we're looking at everything we can do to cut expenses, but still maintain the quality of life in the town of East Fishkill. And that is the challenge, and I think we've done that very well. So come September 30th, I will be delivering a budget to the town clerk that will stay in line with the New York State tax cap. They give us a number, and we will meet that number. So that's where we are. But that being said, we've been talking the last few months about highways. The first casualty of any budget cuts or any budget restraints, unfortunately, is the highway budget. Typically, it's the blacktop part of the highway budget. It's easy to say, put down less blacktop. Now, that's a fine thing to do, and you can do that for a short period, but it catches up to you. I think I had some documents from Dutchess County a couple months ago that talked about roads and degradation of roads, and when they get to a certain point, how much more it costs to bring them up than is if you just kept on top of them. So with this budget, I've been working very hard on the budget. I've also had a lot of help from our highway superintendent in the conditions of our roads, proposals for our roads, and what we're going to be doing going forward. The budget that I'm presenting, really, it only has a couple roads on it. And they're the roads, actually, we had quite a few people complaining about East Hook Cross Road from Lime Kiln, that it goes out to Shenandoah, and then Miller Hill above the parkway there. And these are two roads that we're looking to blacktop, and it'll be approximately $568,000. Now, under the budgets, what we've been doing is the blacktop budget has been around $500,000. Now, that's really not enough to pave roads. We have 200 miles of town road. So the question is, do we go ahead and just do these roads, which is fine, it keeps us under the tax cap, keeps everything fine, or I've also asked the highway superintendent to supply a list of roads if we were to exceed the tax cap. Now, nobody wants to exceed the tax cap. Unfortunately for us, the governor established what I consider an arbitrary tax cap. He just came up with 2%, and this or rate of inflation, which is which is less. So I am going to send to the board, well, I'm going to send to the town clerk my budget, which will stay within the tax cap with the paving, but also a list of roads that I feel strongly that we need to do. One of the areas I will tell you right now is Worley Homes. Worley Homes has for many, many years needed paving. I've spoken to those people, and it just never came about. They would be included if we were to exceed the tax cap. Now, I'm just throwing this out to everybody, and I just want everybody to think about this, because what I'm proposing is if we were to exceed the tax cap, I'm not saying we're going to, but the proposal is if we were to exceed the tax cap, that I would get a list of roads from the highway superintendent. We don't take this lightly. If you look at our charts, up here, this is a comparison of the town of East Fishkill to 15 other towns, surrounding towns, some that have police departments and some that don't. On the left chart, that's where we are today. Our taxes are the lowest among all of these other 15 municipalities that surround us. These are our comparables. And they're not really apples to apples, because some of them have police departments as we do, many do not. So actually, if you look at it, and we love our police department, I will say that. Great bunch of people, they protect us, they do a great job, but they're a large part of our budget. So when you factor in the police department, and we're still the lowest tax town in this group of 16 towns that the controllers put together, many of them without a police department. So I think that speaks volumes. We've been working very hard. For every dollar, I told you about the pension costs going up from I think it was $680,000 some years ago to 1.7 million. We've achieved paying those bills without raising taxes, just by finding efficiencies, how we've done things. We contract out our paving now. That has really actually saved us money. Certain things we used to contract out, we've brought in-house. We have a much tighter handle on expenses, but to be honest with you, when Mark and I did the budget last year, we cut it to the bone. There's nothing left to cut. So, as I said, we can achieve the tax cap number, we can achieve that. But my problem is, and this is really how I feel, we owe it to the public to provide them decent roads. That's just the way it is. I mean, one of the things towns should do is have decent roads, and I feel this is where we're falling short. So if we were to increase our paving budget by exceeding the tax cap this one year, it would, we're discussing increasing it from 600,000, which we put in 500,000, we budget for it, and then we usually find another 100,000 in the highway budget from some other line. But if we increase it to 1.4 million, it will raise us to be the third from the bottom, lowest taxed municipality in this group of comparables. Again, the ones below us don't have a police department, and we take this very seriously. So I'm torn, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm very much torn, because again, I believe we owe it to the people to have good roads, but we also need to be conscious of any tax increases on the impact on the public. So this is what we're looking at. I mean, we would still stay probably the lowest taxed of the 16 municipalities on the list, or we may go up to third from the bottom. But the roads that we would be doing, the highway superintendent has described to me as being very much in need of work, number one. And again, when I talk about Worley Homes is a unique situation, subdivision built probably back in the 60s, 70s off of Old Hopewell Road. And, you know, they've had issues with their water, which really upsets me, and at someday, if the Dutchess County Department of Health gives us approval for another well, we may have a plan to be able to help them with their water. But in the meantime, you know, we couldn't even pave the roads. For a long time, we'd said we can't pave your roads because we think we're gonna be replacing the mains. Replacing the mains will be too expensive. We have other plans, maybe to connect to the existing mains, but we really do need, we owe it to them, I feel, to pave the roads. So this is what I'm gonna provide to the board. The budget will be at the tax cap, but I really do support maintaining our road system. I don't think it's out of the question with where we would end up on the chart. So these are just some things I want to tell everybody. And you and the town board will receive my budget. I submit it September 30th. I believe it's 5 days from then. The town clerk will submit to the town board the preliminary budget for their review. And I just asked them to take this into consideration. These are just some of my thoughts. One thing I would point out too, the governor in the past has always given kind of a rebate. And they play, I mean, it's a little different now. They're even changing the STAR program to where with the STAR program, you would just get, you know, you would just get the STAR credit. Now, I guess the new people who are signing up have to get a check or something. So they're changing everything. There is no rebate anymore. So in the past, where we've always achieved our tax cap, our citizens will get a rebate check, but they've done away with that program too. So that's what I wanted to throw out to the board. Our highway superintendent is here. If you have any questions about the roads, we can talk tonight. Or if you want to talk to him at any other time, he will make himself available. So they're just some of my thoughts on the budget and what I believe is the challenge facing us with our roads. So, thoughts, questions? You know, I still have a few weeks left to work on my budget, and then it will be submitted. But if anybody wants to talk to the highway superintendent and ask his opinion, he's here tonight.
What kind of, Bill, what kind of cycle?
Yep. Would the highway superintendent please come up and sit? Now, you can sit in the red chair. It's not really the hot seat. It's just the only chair that we had left over, and it was red. So,
Just basically, if we increase it by this, what kind of cycle would it put the town on to say, hey, Scott, we're gonna do your road in how many years?
Well, if you remember, I put a list together and I gave it to all the board members of every road in our town, all
Yeah,
208 miles.
well, I'm thinking more for the public is what
Well,
yeah.
again, you know, something the board might consider is taking this and put it on line so that people who live on East Oak Road, that just asked me tonight, when's it gonna be paved? They can punch up East Oak Road and it says,
yeah.
here's the date it's gonna be paved, the year it's gonna be paved, or proposed year, I should say. This road assessment was considering, the board considering breaking the cap. If the cap is not broken, this is out the window, okay? This is utilizing $1.4 million a year, and there's a layout of every year from now until
21, was it?
2024. So it gives every road, when they anticipate being paved, again, the only, way you can utilize this document is if the cap is broken.
Right, no, I understand that, but are we thinking like, we're gonna hit your road now and then again in 10 years, is kind of what I'm asking.
No, absolutely not. No, if it's done now, the drainage is completed and it's paved correctly, you're looking at an 18-year lifespan.
Okay.
But keep in mind that because $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year with drainage and paving, we have fallen so far behind, and that's why we have the difficulties we have now.
Right, no, I understand.
Okay.
And this is an asset, you know, our road system is a town asset, and unfortunately, it's deteriorated.
We're getting to a point where we really need to take action. We don't want it to look like Route 52 or Route 82 or an interstate goes up the side. A few years ago, they went up the side and they just did the side. Now that's all breaking up too. You know,
That's one of the reasons, you know, we're talking about our roads not being maintained, Lake Walton Road. The town spent an awful lot of money with the direction of the engineering department, the highway department working together by milling all that road out on certain sections that were gone by. And that was all documented by all the samples we took along that road. So that was all milled out and filled last year, and this year was topped. So you're looking at a substantial amount of money that took to do that road, and one of the reasons is because it hasn't been, you know, taken care of over the years. East Hook Crossroad, prime example, there we milled and filled the same thing. One reason because of the heavy truck traffic out of West Hook Gravel Bank, and the other reason is that, you know, the road deteriorated.
Yeah.
So we have to invest in them. If we don't invest with them,
well, the cost of bringing them back, if we don't do something soon, will be much higher than if we take
Substantial.
action now.
How much higher?
well, first of all, dollars and cents, I think is gonna be minor compared to customer complaints. You know, we have 35,000 residents, and we don't start tending to these roads. Right now, we receive probably 15 to 20 calls a week about condition of roads. I can venture to say that, you know,
That'll multiply.
you guys will have a direct line to every one of your phones with all the customer complaints, because unfortunately, the town board controls the dollars. And unless we get the dollars to bring our roads back up again,
We understand our part in this,
Oh, I
in this
understand.
play.
So,
okay.
so just take Lake Walton, for example. That's a big road, and with our current budget, pretty much that would be the only road that you could pave in a year.
no, that's why we paved it in 2 years, because we didn't have the money to
Right.
do the complete job in one season.
So my question is, so that road probably took 500,000 to 600,000 to pave,
More than that.
okay?
Something
More
like
than
that.
Yes.
So if it got further deteriorated, my question is, how much more would that
Well,
cost?
I would say the Dutchess County study that we got indicated, and they had a breakdown of normal roads, normal wear, and if you topped it every few years, and I believe the indication, I'll find the study, I think it was like 30%.
Oh, wow.
So you would save a significant amount by not having to go back and redo the whole road. So, and I'll find that study. It was something that Dutchess County sent out, probably around April or May.
So, on this list that I reviewed that you submitted, that's based upon if we exceed the cap. Now, if we don't exceed the cap and we go on paving what we try to do, $500,000 a year, of those roads, say the first 2 years, how far more deteriorated would like year 2 and 3 get?
Well, understand that the way this road assessment is,
Right.
is at 1.4, you know.
I understand.
Right. So if you only go with 500,000,
It's half.
that's only gonna be 3 years of roads. So those say 2 and year 3 that we're planning on paving next year and the year after are now kicked down to 5 and 6.
And they could be.
And they keep getting kicked down further and further, all these roads.
So even those roads could be in the situation where it would cost us 30% or more to fix?
That's correct.
All right.
And I did bring a list of roads, about, if the cap wasn't broken, what I'd like to get paved, and a list of roads if the cap is, you know, broken,
Exceeded, we like to use the word exceeded.
excuse me.
Okay,
Exceeded.
sounds too nasty, if we exceed it.
And do you have that list?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bill, you're saying that we would be going over the tax cap, not just for 1 year, but for quite a few years,
Well,
by
once you,
$1.4
No,
million.
once you do
if
it,
I'm not mistaken, and the attorney hopefully can correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna exceed the tax cap this year, and then,
that's okay, Bob.
the following years, unless there's something that's, you know, completely out of our control, we will not exceed the tax cap.
Right.
Because once you
This would be a
exceed-
one-time exceedance.
Correct.
My point is that we will be raising taxes $1.4 million a year for quite a few
Well,
years.
$62 on the average home
Yeah.
that's there. And you're correct, it'd be, that $62 would
stay.
stay through 2024, when that program would then be, or at any time, it could be reviewed by the town board, and the $62 or $64
yeah.
per average home could go away, you know?
But it wouldn't be an additional 62
No,
each year.
it's
It'll-
just
Right,
one.
it's the
And then
original,
it's
that
a
amount
one-time
stays.
Stays,
increase
and
That
then
then
up to
stays.
That then
for a
stays.
baseline.
It's about $62, I think, for a $300,000 house, correct?
Correct.
So it's about, a little more than $5 a month.
What
On a
about
300 on a
$500,000
yeah.
house, what would that bring it to? 80?
What was that?
$500,000 home?
Yeah, and those under would be 40 or what have you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sliding scale based on the average, the value of the home. We use $300,000 as the average.
Be
You
about-
use the rate right there, 3.17.
It's
Yep.
closer to 100,
Right.
but yeah. Or 500,000.
So, believe me, we don't take this lightly, but then, where does your responsibility lie? So, and I do think that we really have to, it's incumbent upon us to look after our road system.
You know,
Well, one thing I wanted to say was I have reached out to a few citizens going around, and I had mentioned this. And it is incumbent on us to take care of our roads, and they are an asset. And I asked them flat out, would you be in favor of your taxes being raised to fix some of the deteriorating roads? And though it's a small sample size, overwhelmingly, they all agreed. So I would have to, for myself, I would need to talk to a lot more citizens to find out.
And again, I wouldn't say, we don't do this lightly. And what I'm proposing is we will have a contract. Basically, the highway superintendent will provide us with a list of roads that if that is the budget that is adopted, that these are the roads that will be paved. It will be not any, there will be no question. Okay, I'm paying more taxes, and I will go to this road, and there will be blacktop on it. I will go to that road, and will be blacktop on it. And I think it's really important to show the public that if this is the budget passes, you'll see the blacktop on those roads. And I think that's very important.
Is the 1.4 firm, that's the absolute lowest you need to be, or absolute highest? What is the,
The road assessment was at 1.5. John and I and the town attorney talked about it. 1.4 is the number that I was asked to do my report on.
Well,
The list of roads that I plan on paving if the tax cap is exceeded comes out to $1,429,000. And again, that's not just paving, that's all the drainage work
Drainage
that
as
we're
well,
doing
right.
also. Because the last thing you want to do is just, paint it black. You want to make sure that you get all the ditches back, get your storm drains all back in order, replace all your metal pipe with plastic pipe so that we, don't have this problem in 20 years again. So that's all part of this program. It's not just paving, it's complete drainage work along with it.
Bill mentioned something very important. He said that we got to where we are today because we didn't take care of these the years past. And it all comes down to accountability. I am, for one, not to raise taxes. I want to see some kind of savings before I could go to anybody in my community and say, I'm going to raise your taxes by $100 a year. Thing is that whoever was managing these roads before, why wasn't it done before?
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, I've only been in this job for 9 months, but something that, there's, two parts to that. Yes, there was a highway superintendent, and I believe he was there for 40 years. There's also the town board that funded
but
that
if
program.
and Bill, I should answer that question, and I don't think it's anybody's best interest to point fingers. I don't think pointing fingers, just let me finish if
We're
you
not-
would.
I'm
I don't think pointing fingers is really the way.
No.
Now, let me explain to you just how we came by this. because we had the deep recession. Actually, things were going very well in the town of East Fishkill, 2005, 2006. Revenues, as I said, far exceeded our expenses. And expenses, I said, take the pension was $680,000 back then. Let's say the property tax, not the property tax, I'm sorry, the mortgage tax, which we get, was $2 million a year. And that was fine, and everything was fine, and we were going right along funding everything. But when the bottom fell out, we had a real shortfall, because obviously some of our revenue streams went away very quickly. And a lot of our expenses, if anybody, and you've seen, I have the chart here again, and you've seen it, how our expenses have gone up drastically, exponentially from that time. So back in 2007, 2008, 2009, we basically kept taxes, because we're in the middle of a recession. I mean, I hope you remember that. We were in the middle of the recession, and what I proposed to our town board was that we not raise taxes any more than the total value of the assessed value went down. So assessed value one year went down 8%. We raised taxes 8%, and it was a wash to the average. It was a wash to the taxpayer. So there's no increase because their valuation went down, so we raised the taxes. I think we're being very understanding. I said this back then, that we have to understand we're going through a recession. People are getting laid off. People are out of work. We did not have the revenue to continue what we were doing. So then as we started getting a little bit better, we still haven't come out of this recession. I'm really not really interested what Wall Street or the economists say.
Right,
There
but-
are no judges. Let me just finish, Councilman. So it'll be only another minute. Please, you asked the question. If you wanted a simple answer, I would have given you a simple answer. But I'd like to give you the real answer. And that coming around, I think, when was the tax cap instituted, Mark? 2010?
I think it was 12.
12. So come around 2011, 2012, about 2011, I said to Mark, now we really do need to increase our taxes, because, things look like they're getting marginally better, and we can't go along. And then the governor hit us with the tax cap. It was poor timing. Had I raised taxes in 2010, 2011, yeah, we've been better off, because we'd under a tax cap under a higher tax levy. But we didn't, and it was just a matter of timing. So you can say, how did we get into this? In the past, we had a lot of revenue and far less expenses. Now we have far more expenses and far less revenue, and that's really where we are. I think if you look at the chart, we're still very, very understanding of our tax burden on the taxpayer, and I think we take that very seriously. Thank you, Councilman.
So I am very thankful that we are still keeping our taxes low in this town, and I'm proud of the board that is really doing a diligent job. So that you were answering the question, how much were you investing 10 years ago compared to today?
I could take a look what the highway budget was, the highway paving budget 10 years ago. I'd have to take a look at
Would you
that.
say $1 million when things were good?
No, I don't know. I'd have to take a look. I didn't know you were going to ask what it was 10 years ago. I'll take a look and certainly get you the
Bottom line is
information.
that you gave me an answer, you gave me an answer, and at the end of the day, it's always easier for anybody to go to the taxpayer and say, I'm going to raise it because we have a problem. This problem, as I said in the past, it hasn't happened overnight. It happened over years. I'm all for it to fixing the roads over the years. I have an issue with going over the tax cap.
Understood.
I'm going to say that right off the bat.
Fine.
You and I know that we found some overspending in this department in the last couple of years, and
Which department was that?
the highway,
In the highway department?
yes.
Oh, we've had a couple bad storms that we actually had to, do our best to clean up. Could we have saved a few dollars here and there, maybe by not plowing the roads as much? Yes.
Okay. So,
But you still had to clean up after the storms.
right, it wasn't just a couple of dollars, it was quite a bit of money that
The storms were rather
account for.
significant.
The bottom line, what I'm saying is, we need to be accountable for our actions. That's extremely important.
Oh, we are.
When somebody takes a job, including ours, we are responsible. If I make a mistake, I am responsible. So we're at this point deciding for something that is over time. And I understand that if I don't fix the roof of my house, I'm going to have a leak in the house. But if I do not have all the money to repair the whole roof, I'll patch it up this year. and hope that next year I'll have a better job or come into some money to probably do the whole roof. I think everybody in this room probably does their business that way, including us. I don't know why we have to go and invest. I understand the urgency.
I'm not sure if you do, but
Well,
only because
Believe me, I do.
only because I
Believe me,
say,
I do,
if
but
the
I
roads
also-
get worse, there's going to be a premium on fixing them.
I also see the fact that we're saying it's only $80, it's only $60. We still have to deal with the school taxes, okay? Then we have other departments like the library tax, the fire department tax, and making a living. Everybody right now, including the seniors, have to go back and work to help survive. So to me, that's extremely important, and I want to bring it to the discussion. Yes, we know, we need to fix the roads, but
That's fine.
it's a problem that happened over the years, and I don't mind going through the list and saying, okay, which part of the town needs fixing now, and doing it.
Well, I think that's why I did that.
Yeah.
I
assessment.
thank you for that.
I think
That's very helpful.
the highway superintendent's done a good job in that respect.
I mean,
And that's fine.
That's a 10-year plan, basically.
A little further than I guess.
Yeah.
That's a 15-year plan. I mean, if we were going to do it all in 1 year, we got to come up with a lot of money, and that
Lot more
would be a
money.
one-year
Yep.
fix. And
Something that.
I don't think that's even feasible. Years ago, I believe the blacktop budget was higher, and it was obviously less expensive then, too. But also, years ago, you couldn't invest, if you put money in blacktop, that's where it had to be spent.
Well, that's a highway expense.
they-
When you
they
budget for
tweaked that.
highway, it has to stay in the
It
highway
has
budget.
to stay, but if it was blacktop, it had to be spent on blacktop, or that's why the numbers used to be moved 15 years ago. Because you'd put it into the highway budget, but then you'd move it over to blacktop if you'd had a nice winter.
And we did it in-house, so it's a little
Yeah.
bit difficult to always compare.
Well, and the mortgage tax was 2 million, now it's what?
800,000.
$800,000,
Lost
yeah.
1.2, so I'm sure over the years, in trying to keep the budget within the cap, the board had to adjust what you expended it for, just like this board has done over the last couple of years, cutting all kinds of things in the
Yeah,
departments. to
no,
stay under the cap,
we've
so.
cut the budget right to the bone. And I understand, and everybody has their opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. I have no problem with that. And I think it's just really, a decision that needs to be made. Again, I think that during the recession, we were very respectful, very cognizant of the struggles of the average taxpayer. Obviously, nobody likes to raise taxes. But again, I don't think where we would end up on the list of all these towns, I still think that's a very good value, and it will produce good roads. I cannot speak for the library, the Wapshire Central School System. The Wapshire Central School System, I believe that the town taxes of that tax bill is probably, I think, Mark, 14%, something like that. So we can only control what we can control. I cannot speak for anybody else, so we've always done our best. And it's going to be a decision that the board is going to have to make. So just want to put that out there, and we'll see how it goes. And there's going to be more discussion with the highway superintendent, myself, and the controller before the budget is
Right.
completed.
But there's one thing that I want to make sure that you understand, is that we are patching the roads every day to keep them so that they are, passable, and we don't have problems with people hitting potholes. And we're doing a substantial amount of patching on some of these roads. So it's not like we've just neglected them and leaving them go. Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Well, I have, just a few comments that over the years, you could go back and look at anything, but going back is not going to help us now. If we could have tightened the buckle some other places 10, 15 years ago, but we have problems now, and problems have to be fixed now. And wishing that 10 years ago something was different isn't going to help us. So, everybody has a fiduciary responsibility on this board. None of us like to raise taxes. We never broken the tax cap ever. And bringing this roads into discussion now, it's evident that trying to catch up isn't going to make it. If you looked at this list, which I did very thoroughly, either we're going to pay now or pay much more later. So if you're gonna kick the can down the road, it's just gonna have a larger tax increase later. So, it's very difficult, but to me, it's plain as day. I'd rather, anybody go shopping, they like to save money, they look for what's on sale. If you could buy something today for $5, but you know what, next year it might cost you $8, you're gonna buy it now.
Yeah.
So why am I gonna pay 30% more for something later on? You know, in the highway superintendent, I give him a lot of credit, and we have seen, like Councilman said, there were some other things that we could have saved money, and it's evident he did save money. Look at the recreation.
Yeah.
There's so many projects that have been done. People are very happy. And he looked and saw where he could save, and he put those dollars to work somewhere else. Now, all that work that was done at the RAC doesn't have to be done again. He did that. He spent that money.
Good point.
So next year, those savings, whatever he could realize, will go somewhere else also. So, you know, your roads are assets, right? By the
Yes.
governor says.
New York State law, the road
There are
inventory
assets.
is hard assets.
So if we have to maintain them, I'm for maintaining them. You know, I know he would like to do more and more, as much as he could if we could give it, and I understand he scaled back the amount, but if we could stay on our list here, we'd be the third cheapest,
Lowest
I could
tax,
say,
yeah,
lowest tax
yeah.
town in the next 15, and after, with a full-time police department, the next full-time police department is what, town of Poughkeepsie? And they pay $7.26 per thousand for tax,
Yeah.
and we would pay $3
$3.17.
with a full-time police department.
Yep.
Now, I mean, if we didn't have a police department, obviously, we could pave everything to Kingdom Come, but we love our police.
Don't say that too loud.
No, but we love our police, and we love to be secure, and we love to be safe. Everybody likes to call, and we have a second-to-none police department, and look what we do with our tax dollars. So I think that this is probably very appropriate right now that we discuss this and put into consideration, but it is difficult.
Oh, it
It's
is.
difficult.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the board consideration. Again, it would be a contract. If that budget is adopted, you would see these roads paved, and that's the bottom line. Then we'll continue with that every year.
Right, and
With the
another
contract.
way to do that, obviously, is put it on our website, and this way the people know that,
Yeah.
you know, here's a list
They won't
of...
have to call up. They'll go to the website, and they'll see when their road is going to be paved.
Right, absolutely. And
Very good.
I would hope that the board would reconsider and consider
Yep.
breaking the tax cap. I think it'd be in everybody's best interest, especially, unfortunately, especially our taxpayers, because they're the ones that ride the roads.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you know, so that we bring the discussion back to where it's supposed to be, I don't know if I was not pointing fingers at anybody in particular. And my question was, how did we get to where we are today? It's been over time.
The same way the
We got to
roof,
fix the problem over time. See, Social Security, the federal government, I'm not collecting, but I hear from seniors that they haven't had a raise in their Social Security in a couple of years. Okay? The governor, they have all the figures, they put out a tax cap, and there is a reason for that, to keep things under a manageable. We have issues in the town, and I agree. We're not bringing in as much as we used to, and that's a problem. But that's a general problem. But again, I'm looking at the seniors, and I have to tell them, I need, out of your paycheck, extra money because I need to fix the roads. And when I talk to these people, a lot of them, they're saying, I cannot afford to live in this town any longer. And to me, that's an important issue to deal with. I'm pushing a certain section of this town out of the community. They were born here, their families raised over here, and now they have to move someplace else because they can't live here. And this is, we're talking in general terms. I mean, again, this is an issue that needs to be dealt, and we have a tough decision to make. But while considering the whole picture, I like to bring this to the table. I talk to these people every day.
As do we.
Yeah. So, this is my personal input to the discussion. I hope that we consider that too.
Okay. Two things, and I would say, again, when you look at the total tax bill, especially the Wapner Central School District, which is the major, if we had their budget, we'd pave every road this year. And that's part of the problem, you know?
$250 million.
Yeah, I know, that's the problem, you know? And we understand, believe me, Councilman, this is why I say, when we look at the chart, we're very, very reasonable, and we will continue to be that way. But when you talk about the governor and his tax cap, again, I would say, you know, had it been at 2%, we would be better off. It wasn't 2%, it's, you know, it's 0.6 whatever this year, 0.7 last year. And the governor, when he said he's going to institute a tax cap, and this is one of the problems that I find with government on many levels, instead of taking care of, and you would agree with this, that the governor did not attack or attend to the fundamental problems that are driving the costs up in New York State. I mean, you can talk with anybody, just the regulations, the bookkeeping, what is the Triborough law, the
State
a
mandate.
lot of these things.
Prevailing wages.
Yes, yeah, MS4, they're all mandated. And the governor said, I'm going to put on a 2% tax cap or less, but I'm going to give you some relief, which he never did. He created what, Tier 6, I think, of the New York State pension system, which maybe in 15 years that will help. But today we just got our pension numbers and they still went up. So yeah, I understand, see, and this is my problem, Councilman, is the governor, he puts a Band-Aid on it. And yes, the truth, and I would tell you this too, for the towns that really let the roads go, I gotta say, I think in 5 or 6, 8 years, you're gonna see a lot of infrastructure problems, you know, throughout the county. Now, the county has a very good program, but again, their taxes are much higher than ours also. So, now, we understand, but it's just, this is a very difficult and emotional decision, I know, for this board. So, we don't want to chase anybody out. You know, I plan to live here the rest of my life. It's about $5 a month. I don't live in that type of a house, so it won't be that much for me. But, you know, yeah, and for, you know, being, that is an average of $300,000 house, you know, my house would be a bit less than that, so, yeah, I know it's a tough one. It's a decision we're gonna have to struggle with for the next couple months, so.
Something that I'd like to put out there, if anyone on the town board would like to ride the roads, so to speak, and, you know, go over this list, I'll be more than happy to bring them wherever they want to see, whatever time they want to see it. You know, I'm available 24 hours a day.
How many roads do we have?
We have 208 miles of roads.
208.
And miles of roads, and I apologize, but the number of roads, I don't know. But we have 208.64 miles of road.
And we need to do about 12 to 15 a year?
You're supposed to do the entire 208 miles in 15 years, because that's as far as New York State law and hard assets.
And we're doing about 3.
No, we're doing like 1.
Well, last year we did
Yeah.
2.7.
Yeah, it was an expensive 2.7.
It was an expensive 2.7. Because that was Lake Walden to Feeder Road.
Right.
Where he
Yeah.
milled and filled,
Yeah, that was very important.
so.
Okay, anyway, this is a discussion that will be ongoing, and I think if you want to take the highway superintendent up on his invitation, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Absolutely.
Could I ride in the big truck with the snow, with the,
Well,
With the light on?
with the snow, then you'll know exactly the condition of the
Yeah.
roads, because you'll be
Up
bouncing
early.
everywhere.
We also have a special helicopter. Use the helicopter?
Not out of my budget.
Oh, no. Okay, all right, so
Thank
this
you.
is what we're looking at. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks.
We appreciate it. So, yes, we do have, it's a tough decision. One of the expenses, though, goes back to, I remember, I don't know when it was, 2000, probably around 2010, we had a windstorm in the town of East Fishkill. I think it was mainly up on the mountain, I forget. But it was a huge windstorm. It cost us a lot of money, and it was so specific just to East Fishkill. We couldn't get any help. Dutchess County didn't declare a state of emergency. No state of emergency means no help. Money. Yeah, and we paid for that whole thing ourselves. And that was, I think, probably $800,000 for that. So, you know, it's a tough one. What's that?
880,000.
800 or something, yeah. So it's a lot of money. So, but
Mark wouldn't talk to you for 6 months.
No, I know. But if you look at, we're cognizant of our responsibility, and I do think we have responsibility for the road, so we'll continue further. Anyway, next on the agenda, Historic Society funding. Just want to talk a little bit about the Historic Society. Our Historical Society does a great job. I don't know when the Historical Society was established. I do remember Mrs. Finkel, when I was a kid growing up in Wickby in the 1960s, I think she was actually the first one that probably established it in East Fishkill. A really good group. They do a lot of good work. We actually donated the Ice House. We've always been very big supporters. Whenever the Historic Society asked if they could use this room for a presentation, we were always there. We've always supported the Historic Society. But again, it kind of comes down to budgets too, you know, as we look at everything. So I know the Historic Society sends us a request every year for a certain amount of money. $25,000 typically is the amount. And now there's actually, I wouldn't say competition, but with the Hopewell Depot Group also has been requesting money from us. They had a budget request last year. We couldn't fulfill their whole request, but we gave them what we could. But because this is all happening, and I have nothing that says, I don't know, Mark, we've looked, we have no agreements even from 40 years ago. But I wanted the board to be comfortable, because the expenditures over, since our software goes back to 1993, we've actually provided to the Historic Society over $600,000. So because this is the amount of money that we're talking about, I feel it's very important to have the board involved and have a formal agreement. I have no problem providing, understanding that, again, my police department unfortunately got no police cars this year. This is the type of a budget, as you see with our road discussion. So it's not easy, but to go forward, I want my town board to be comfortable with funding of the Historic Society, and the budget line is historical. It doesn't say Historical Society, it doesn't say the Rail Depot, but it's for those type of endeavors. But I do think that there are certain things we're going to have, which should be a request every year, a budget every year. I think we should have some guidelines. And Tom, I know we've spoken about services that these entities are supposed, especially when we talked with the depot folks, that they're supposed to make sure they have services open to the public of the town of East Fishkill and things of that nature. So I like to craft a document, and I like the board to be involved with this, that when the Hopewell Depot people, when the Historical Society comes to us requesting funding, you know, we have those things in place, because we do get audited. And, you know, in the past, I think it hasn't been as, it's what we call, the legal term is loosey-goosey. And we really like to have these things on file and do it right. So we do have copies of their budgets for this year. And I would be honest with you, I was surprised, because I just knew in the back of my mind we'd have always supported the Historic Society. But when I went back and saw that we paid over $600,000 over a long period of time, it says to me, this is something that really needs to be a board-approved situation, a board-approved type of revenue. So that I just wanted to bring out to the board. We have copies of the budget, and I did send them a letter. We will provide them the $25,000 this year. Again, I'm not buying police cars, and I had to tell the chief of police. So, you know, this is it. There's nothing is easy. It's getting hot in here. Our 50-year-old air conditioner up on the roof is going. We just had to replace 2 on that side when the heaters went last winter. So, you know, and everybody has the same thing. It's these things you didn't consider. I mean, like Councilman, you said you got a hole in your roof. I mean, we didn't think we had a hole in the roof, but all of a sudden we have a hole in the roof. You know, you got to take care of this stuff. So hopefully going forward, you know, again, the tax cap is prohibitive. The economy hasn't recovered. But I think we can work things out to where we can continue to fund those things which I think provide the quality of life for the town of East Fishkill. And that is kind of like the juggling act we do, because we need to provide this. We need to maintain the roads. We need to plow the roads. We need police patrols. Then you need the quality items, but it's not easy, believe me. So I just want to bring that out to the board and get anybody's thoughts on that. But this will be a town board decision, and I think it's very important.
What kind of money we normally on a year give each historical society, them and the Rail Depot?
Well, the Rail Depot hasn't been any kind of standard. This year, we gave them $5,000. It's been different over the last several years when they were putting a roof on, and, you know, we've given 5 or 10 here and there. The normal amount over, in the recent history for Historical Society has been $25,000. The $660,000 that the supervisor was referring to was over a 20-year period, so roughly $33,000 a year, you know. But 25 has been the standard, at least since 2008 or.
Yes, 2008.
But again, and be honest, you know, when you look at the numbers, even over a 20-year period, you know, these are taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's very important that we have it codified.
but what I'm saying is, what we're gonna do for one, we basically,
You're going to give the, you know, I hope the Hopewell Depot people aren't watching. They're going to be setting
no,
their.
I'm not saying I'm giving them 25 either. I mean, we gotta come up with a real plan on what it is. I mean, yes, okay, we had to move the ice house. That was, you know, a lot more money that one
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Type thing. I mean, we gotta come up with a longer-term plan than just, hey, here's $25,000 a year, I don't care what you do with it. You know, we gotta come up with a real.
And nothing against railroad guys, they've done a great job.
I'm not
We did
against
give them
nothing against
$5,000 last
Nothing
year.
against either one of them,
Yeah, no.
is what I'm saying, but
Yeah, to
it's
make
like
it fair.
to be
Would this,
somewhat
would
fair.
this agreement encompass the railroad as well, not just
Oh,
exclusively?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Any historical endeavor.
Well, the latest thing, the latest requirement from the State Controller's Office for the last few years is that, just like in recreation, we have agreements now with the leagues, because when you're using taxpayer funds or properties, you're supposed to identify the benefit to the taxpayers. And so in the Historical Society, obviously, it's easy to identify the cultural goals and the preservation. With the recreation agreement, we're working on having the leagues, their use of the facilities, we're codifying into an agreement that it's for the benefit of the children of the town and not just anybody that, you know, wants to play in a team. So maybe that's, but all of these agreements is for cultural, historical, recreation, and it's to spell out exactly what the money the taxpayers give to an organization is what the taxpayers are getting for it. So some of the basic things would be residents' access to the premises, how often would be open, you know, things that probably are occurring all the time. But when they come down from Albany every few years to audit us, they write you up with these notes, which are then, you know, tossed around saying, you know, you gave an organization money, what did you get for it? What did the taxpayers gain? So they've kind of given us, not just the town of East Fishkill, but all the municipalities, a warning that this is coming, this is what they're looking for. And, you know, many people just think, you know, gee, it's nice to see teams on the field. But, you know, you got two classes of people using athletic facilities. You have all of us, taxpayers, whether we have children or not, who enjoy the beauty of the parks and having the open space. But then when we had younger children, or those who do have younger children, they're actually having more of an active use of it. So you have to balance all of that in the benefit of the taxpayers as a whole, so.
Yeah, and that's always, well, you know, Tom, from the rec board.
Oh, yeah.
That's always been one of the things where we provide all these facilities, but when they get down to lining fields, doing that specific type of work, that really benefits only the people that are playing ball, and that's something which we are doing in our field use agreement to address that, so.
So, John, you said that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You said that we are going to give the 25,000 for this year.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that, because, I mean, there has been discussion with the board and the town bringing more tourism to attract more tourists in the town. And these people in the Historical Society, I mean, I looked at their budget and I see the money that they really get in is not much other than the 25,000 that we give them, and they do a lot with it. They've done a lot with it. I mean, if we have to continue on a plan, I think this is important. You know, 25,000 is probably minimal to what they really accomplish. And the historical fact is that even the children that they go from the schools and they tour these
Oh, yeah.
projects. I mean, they actually touch with their hands where, where history
Oh, absolutely.
is, so I am grateful that we're giving them back,
Oh, yeah.
restoring the money. And, I mean,
But I just think
if
going
there is a
forward, yeah.
participation for the board to participate, making suggestions to them, maybe we could have them once in a while come to the board and address us with how they're spending the money.
Or maybe the
I
board,
don't think
or
they
maybe
would
the
mind.
board takes a road trip
Oh.
and goes out to the historic
Right.
site and takes a look, maybe meets with their board.
We can't go over those roads for 12 years, Bill said.
I attended, a couple of years ago, I attended the dinner with the Train Depot,
Mm-hmm.
and there was the chairwoman of the Dutchess County Tourism. I don't know how many millions we pull in tourist revenue in Dutchess County.
Yeah.
It is a source of revenue,
Oh, yeah.
and this is a small investment. If we continue, I think there is going to be a return when
Yeah,
we
I-
put everything else in
Yeah.
place.
But I just think we need to have a certain guidelines, a certain understanding.
Sure, I'm all for that.
Okay?
Historical Society is great. Yeah,
Good.
they always do a good job.
Okay.
I go there for the Christmas tree lighting and, I mean, the Christmas time of the
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
and
They have
I was there for the
outsider
ice
in the
house.
back.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
wonderful. Yeah, if we could get a plan in place where
That's
we
the
know
important
what's
part.
going on with
And also, I know
expenditures.
from my experience in other communities, many groups, as communities grow, start to come to the town for funding. I know I'm involved with one where there's a historic cemetery, and they have a restoration of tombstones, and they've come to the board. And so that town has policies in place, but they've gotten to the point where some people come in and request, they'll do it as matching funds. So for like a restoration of a particular building, they'll say, okay, we'll match up to a certain amount. And I'm not saying this is what we're talking about here, but I think we have to get a policy formalized in place so that when other groups start to develop and come into the town, we have standards that we can, you say, okay, this is the process. You submit your budget request before the town supervisor's budget is put together, so he or she knows what has to be included in it, and we go through the
Yeah,
process.
well, like 10 years ago, who would have thought the Hopewell Depot would have been where they are today? But they've done a terrific job. And I know, I was at a meeting the other night, and I guess there's a fireman's museum. There's a group of fire people that are trying to put together a fireman's museum, and they're looking for a place to have it. It's something like that could come up, and that would be another thing. That would be something to be, we could look at supporting or helping to support. And I think it's very important.
maybe we could film a town board meeting there once a year. That'd be fun.
That would
That's a
be a
great
good
idea.
idea. That would be
Only
a
if
good
you're
idea.
dressed in costume.
All right, so we're going to work over the next few weeks to put together some guidelines and some documents. I would like the town board to, we'll provide it to the town board, and then I think at some point we'll have a formal resolution adopting that. And I think actually it would be a good idea if our board would meet with maybe the board of the Historic Society, so we get to know better their needs and they can understand our position too. All right?
It would
Very
be
good.
nice if we could get some phone numbers, or we know who to get in touch with. It would be
We'll get a list of them, of the
Yeah.
Board of
Yeah, there's
Trustees,
number
yeah.
on here.
Have these.
Very good, we'll take care of that.
Very good.
All righty. I'm sorry, Sam, this is a workshop. We don't take public comment, so please excuse me. If you'd like to speak to us afterwards, we would welcome any comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Last on the agenda is Town Board Policy on Recreation Project, which actually kind of goes along with this. The recreation, we have certain projects come forward, and I don't think they're presented to the entire board. A couple of them that I was thinking about was a possibility of getting a building donated to us and put over the soccer complex. Kind of came up, was talked about informally amongst some board members. The field paint situation, things of that nature. There are certain things I think and they all seem like great ideas. But the rec board will make recommendations or talk to town board members. And I really think, again, we need to formalize this. I would like to request this board for a policy, when the rec board comes up with a project they like to do, say the building that was going to be donated and they want to put over the soccer complex, I'd like to have the rec board review it. And if the rec board feels it should move forward, to give us a formal request to consider this. That way we'd bring it to a workshop, and we'd have representatives from, say, whatever organization was going to do the building to come and answer the questions to the full board. I'm a little bit tired of talking this one and hearing that, and then talking to this person and hearing that. I really think the full board needs to understand what the project is, because unfortunately, sometimes these projects don't work out as well as we had hoped. And there's unforeseen circumstances. So I would like to enact a policy, if everybody's okay, and I'll run this by everybody too, but it'll be for the rec board, and the rec board, anything comes to them, they'll review it, and if they would like to move forward with it, they will make a formal recommendation to this board and be considered at a workshop. Okay, now, Tom, you're on the rec board, you're a liaison to the rec board, and what are your thoughts on this?
Well, in particular, the trailer situation, when I was at the meeting and Soccer had an opportunity to purchase one of the trailers that were at Van Wyck, one of the modules.
Now, just let's, when you say it's a trailer, which I thought it was
Well,
modest,
I had
of
called you the very,
modest
right, I
size.
told you the very next day, I gave you
Okay.
the dimensions, it was like 60 by, or 20 by, 30 by 80 or something, it's
Okay.
fairly big.
It's bigger than
Yeah,
a
it's
trailer,
it's very,
no.
it's quite large, no, I
Yeah.
understand. And
These are the
I talked to
details.
other members of the board about it.
Yeah.
I went to the town engineer, I talked to the highway superintendent, and then we were trying to work out an agreement with the town attorney, myself, and one of the
Yeah.
representatives from Soccer. We sort of had something drawn up, but after having the Scott and Bill go and check the facility, they got back to me and they told me that it would cost upwards of $20,000, which is pretty much a deal breaker because we don't have that money in the budget, I understand that.
Right.
So subsequently, I went back to the Rec Advisory Board and I asked them to take a look at it and if they would, if that would come out of the Rec Development Fund, because I know nobody here is going to be wanting to dole out that $20,000, and we
Right,
don't have the
right.
money for that. But the proper channels were followed at the time.
Okay. Again, I would like to see a formal request so the full board can and talk about it. I mean, then we would have one of those people here where we could say, well, how big is this really? Because when I first heard about it, I didn't think it was as big as it is.
All
It
right, well,
turned out-
that's why I wanted to have the town engineer and
Yeah, yeah.
the highway super go and take a look at it before anything was going to be
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, so I think we do a formal request from that board, and obviously the town engineer be here, the highway superintendent, for any projects going forward. So he can really take a look at the costs and any other impacts it may have. So if you're okay with that, that's how I'd
Absolutely.
like to pursue today. Okay, good. All righty, anybody have any thoughts on that? We good? Peter?
Good?
Okay, good. All right, that's it for our work session. Liaison reports, Peter, you're handling highway, and for me, thank you for handling the police department. Reports on highway and police?
2017-18 road paving schedule published to the town board. They completed major installation of drainage along East Hook Crossroad, completed major installation of drainage along Townsend Road, and also along Hillside Lake Second and Marinick. In the process of completing more drainage on Woodmont and Miller Hill Roads, replacement of Taconic Oaks Bridge section completed in-house. They finally replaced the highway septic system. Asphalt patching on numerous roads, dead tree removal along all our roads, removing overhanging trees along corridors and cutting back intersections. Received of all the salt for the next 2 winters, stacked at storage shed.
Just a comment on that salt. Boy, we have a bunch of salt stacked
Yeah.
up in that salt barn.
And they've been getting a lot of compliments on the daily basis from the residents.
Oh, good.
The police department,
How they been doing?
in July, the Stormville Flea Market, traffic went well.
Good.
Was moving and no backups to be reported. Police Department conducted its yearly active shooter training at John Jay High School. Also participating were the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, the Town of Kent Police, members of the Dutchess County Probation, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. East Fishkill police officers received a female victim of a heroin overdose, saved by using the Narcan kit. In August, the police department was notified of the receipt of an $18,000 grant from Sue Serino's office. The grant will allow the police department to replace aging equipment which can no longer be serviced or repaired. The August Stormville Flea Market went on without any complaints also. Officers paid for by the flea market worked to keep traffic moving into the grounds and off the highways as quickly as possible. The officers invested one complaint of a driveway contractor who was engaged in this deceptive ceiling scam. The company had moved on and has not returned to the area. The New York State Attorney General's office has taken on the case. Once again, the East Fishkill has been rated among the safest towns in New York, coming in number 7. This was in the study of the 2015 crime statistics company known as SafeWise, who rates the towns and villages across New York. And last Friday, a black bear was reported spotted by an officer on the midnight shift. The bear has been seen in the Hopewell Rec Center and left the park, moving north into the woods.
I have a question.
I don't know.
How do you see a black bear at night?
I don't know. How do they do that?
I have a black dog, and it's a heck of a thing when my dog gets up in the middle of the night and moves. I can never find him.
They bought infrared glasses with Sue Serino's $18,000. No.
Night vision, yeah.
Night vision. They posted the sighting of the Facebook page and the Poughkeepsie Journal. School is starting again. Police will be watching for drivers who fail to stop for buses. Students at John Jay are asked to use the new crosswalks lights and follow the proper instructions on crossing the intersections. That's it.
Thank you very much. And you know, Tom, you were involved with that with Sue Serino after the accident in front of John Jay, getting that crosswalk, the traffic light installed, and you and Sue Serino's office did a great job making that a safe intersection, so thank you for that. All righty, thank you, Peter. Boy, our highway and our police department are very busy.
Did we get our money back for the airport? They were,
Yes, we did.
Oh, we
Yep,
did,
yep.
okay.
Boy, if anybody remembers was it last year? We had a heck of a traffic jam with that Stormville Flea Market. You couldn't get up Route 52. Unbelievable. I think we've got that all squared away.
well, they
Thanks.
were in the rears, we're all.
And they
they're
paid
all
up too. Yep,
okay.
they paid up too. So, all right, Councilman D'Alessandro, Planning Board.
Yeah, planning zoning is, been tepid, but one of our consulting engineers, Joe Dennis, is leaving the planning board. He's moving on to bigger and better things, and Morris Associates, which is our consulting engineers for the town, they'll be replacing with, we don't know who yet, one of the partners, I think, will be sitting in right now. And that's pretty good. NYMER is our New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal we're a member of. They'll be giving a free seminar on conducting meetings, SECRA, and drafting decisions on Article 78s and whatnot. I'm going to attend that. It's a free seminar.
Oh,
up
where's-
in,
where's that?
It's up in
Bro-
Columbia Green Community College.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up in Hudson. It's in October, so.
Good.
I'll attend that, and
Any-
I'll try and bring some of our other planning
Yeah,
board
please
members
do.
along. I'll notify, I'll send out an email to them and see who could come.
Oh, good.
And on another note, I know that my fellow council persons here have done their due diligence on the LED RFP that we were considering a while ago. I'm hoping that we could make a decision to call that not-for-profit to maybe draft the RFP so we could get going on that.
Sounds good.
And I also spoke with the attorney, and shortly we'll be sending out the RFP for the electrical bidding.
Good.
For the
Oh,
town.
very good.
I gave John a copy of RFP,
Yep.
right?
Yep, some time ago.
I'll give you one also.
Yeah, I think, a couple of the companies that we talked to, they all have the RFP to give.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's better if we go with a third party
Yeah.
that has no interest.
And this is going to be LEDs for all the parks and all the parking areas, correct?
Right, in other buildings besides this building, because I
This one's
believe this
retrofitted,
shortly,
yeah.
this was retrofitted. And they'll look at all the other buildings.
Oh, very good. All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Franco, Recreation Board, how is our rec board?
Rec is doing very well.
Community
leagues are
Day, just let me ask, Community Day is coming up. Peter?
That's right, Peter.
Date on Community Day.
September 17th.
17th, wow. I can't believe,
11 a.m.
I can't believe Community Day is here already. It just, it's like, where did the time go?
Leagues are starting up their fall season. We have basketball signups that are going on right now. You can stop at the Lime Kiln facility Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to sign up. There'll also be a registration at the Community Center on Wednesday, September 14th, from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Registration for basketball ends Friday, September 30th, and there are no exceptions. Want to add Highway Superintendent Bill McClellan installing a walking bridge behind the pavilion, which looks fantastic. Also, large bleachers were put in by the McGrath for football. Yes, so we're still getting compliments too on the fields and how great they look. So, thank you to Billy and all the guys, Butch and them. And one more thing, happy birthday to Mike Miner today.
Michael Miner's
Mike
birthday?
Miner.
Okay, everybody has to just take a minute.
Sing
Should we
happy
sing?
birthday to Mike.
He's our TV guy. He's in the booth over there, so we can sing.
Everybody wave to him.
Michael, we want
Happy birthday to you.
He can edit this, you know.
Everyone do this.
Happy birthday, Michael, and thank you for all your work. Michael does a very good job.
And that's it from Rick.
Great, thank you very much. Now we've embarrassed poor Michael. Councilman Marinero?
Well, I want to thank you for the announcement that you made at the beginning of the meeting regarding Hillside Lake and the project. Some people in the area have been asking again
Yep.
how and when the project will start. We are waiting for those permits, and
To be honest
we'll
with
see where
you,
we go from
true,
there.
and, you know, speaking with the people that we have working on the permitting, you know, they're very optimistic that they're in the works. And if we were to get the permits, and the thing is, we'll be getting the bid documents to put out the bid, and yeah, hopefully, but now we're getting into September, so we're hopeful we can still catch a good autumn.
So people are happy with that news. They're optimistic. A lot of young families are happy. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
as I said, there are young families moving in the area.
Yeah.
So they're happy that something is getting done.
Oh, it's just,
So there
yeah,
is some anticipation, but people
good,
are in a good mood, waiting
good.
patiently.
I'll tell you a quick story. My wife made me go on vacation because I don't do vacation. So she got somebody to lend us a cabin. So we went up to this cabin, and it's a lake, I think near somewhere in Norwich, New York. But it's about a 100-acre lake, about 4 times the size of Hillside Lake. And it's sort of like the same thing. DEC has come in and said no more septics can be installed. So it's a little community right around the lake. And they have the same things. But they had taken care of the lily pads some years ago, and they maintained them through a program. And it's not a deep lake, it's only about 5 foot deep. But so when you get up in the morning, you walk out, I mean, it's still very nice. You see the sun come up, the lake looks very nice. And it's a very nice asset. They don't really swim in the lake, and there's really no fishing, but there's quite a bit of boating on it. Surprising, people have kayaks and little boats they go out. So this is what I'd like to see for Hillside Lake, is to be, you know, come out in the morning and be a real asset. So let's see. Very hopeful. And I was thinking about Hillside Lake while I was up there. Very good. I think that's it for tonight's meeting. The next town board meeting, the voting meeting will be September 22nd, 2016. And again, September 11th is on Sunday. And 6 o'clock, the ceremony's here, and everybody's invited. Thank you very much to the board, and thank you to the public for attending.